as amended.
I'm asking you, sitting in your chair now, to make an assessment under the laws as exist. Is Ether a commodity or a security?
Without speaking to anyone.
I know you've repeatedly said you're not going to speak to one, except you've spoken to one, Bitcoin.
Gary Gensler was physically shaking when being asked a simple question. Is Ethereum a security? Yes or no? And it's surprising that he couldn't answer the question, because just over the last few months, he has publicly stated that outside of Bitcoin, everything in crypto is a security, including Ethereum. Is Ethereum in trouble? And what about all of the projects built on top of Ethereum? And also, what about altcoins? Well, one altcoin in particular that we need to talk about is Algorand, because not that long ago, Gary Gensler, who claims Algorand is a security, was actually promoting it.
Macaulay's Algorand. He's a professor over in the Computer Science and AI Lab, a Turing Award winner. He's got a company that has an interesting thing. It's like a jury selection.
You could create Uber or Lyft on top of a blockchain technology today. Well, maybe in 5 years you could. It would have the performance. Sylvia Macaulay's Algorand, who's a Turing Award winner at MIT that I work with. Sylvia's got a great technology that has the performance. You could create Uber on top of it.
And since that footage in 2019, Algorand is down 95%. Will Gary Gensler get fined millions of dollars by the SEC for promoting a coin that caused investors to lose money? Probably not. And this man, Gary Gensler, is in charge of making the rules for crypto. And he claims that he's qualified to do so because he taught a course on crypto. Yet, he's never owned crypto and never used crypto. I mean, imagine a gym trainer that never lifted a weight. Imagine a guitar teacher that never played a musical instrument. Well, that's what Gary Gensler is when it comes to crypto.
Have you ever owned Bitcoin or another digital asset?
No.
And so maybe here, I'm guessing most folks on your senior staff, I'm guessing you included, have bought or sold stocks, but none of them have owned, or none of them currently own crypto assets, but are in the process of making rules and regulations on crypto assets. That'd be a fair assumption.
I couldn't speak to that. I actually at MIT taught a course called Blockchain and Money. I taught multiple courses called Crypto Finance and other courses as well.
But you didn't own any crypto.
No.
You taught the course, but you weren't a user in the product.
I did not own crypto assets. They're a highly speculative asset.
No, I'm not asking for your view on it. I'm just saying that you're in the business now of making rules and regulations regarding digital assets, but you've taught a class on it. You've never personally owned a digital asset, any crypto, including Bitcoin.
The only digital assets I have is my bank account and my brokerage accounts, but no crypto.
Very good. Thank you.
It's absurd. We have people that never owned or used crypto making the rules for crypto. And it's also possible that Gary Gensler is just the puppet. Whoever is in charge at the SEC will be coming down with strict regulations. So even if Gary Gensler was kicked out and replaced by someone else, we still probably would see regulation. And one of the goals of regulation is to protect investors. But the SEC under Gary Gensler's leadership has done nothing to protect investors. The only thing Gary Gensler has done is prevent United States citizens from actually making money in crypto and also pushing crypto companies outside of the United States.
Your regulatory style lacks flexibility and nuance, and as a result, you've been an incompetent cop on the beat, doing nothing to protect everyday Americans and pushing American firms into the hands of the CCP. Your intention to work against SEC mission and put American investors in harm's way has been made very apparent, sir. It's been a year and a half since you've appeared before this committee. You need to answer to Congress about the issues that you've had with the SEC staff union, the work environment you've cultivated at the SEC that's led to hemorrhaging of senior staff, the intellectual inconsistency of your regulatory treatment towards Bitcoin spot ETFs, and your politicization of capital formation opportunities through your treatment of certain SPACs. And that's just to name a few. Thank you. I yield.
There's no regulatory clarity in the US. It's even gotten to a point where Coinbase is considering leaving the US because of this. And this is wild to me because Coinbase is one of the most compliant companies in crypto. And if Coinbase can't even make it in the US, then no one can. And this lack of regulatory clarity is pushing companies to leave the United States. And politicians are waking up and paying attention, and they're very upset about this. And they are openly calling for the firing of Gary Gensler, and they even told it straight to his face.
Chairman Gensler, your record of failures to protect investors and abuses of power make it clear that we need to restructure the Securities and Exchange Commission. To correct a long series of abuses, I'm introducing legislation that removes the chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission and replaces the role with an executive director that reports to the board where all authority would reside. Former chairs of the SEC will be ineligible under my proposed bill. And this isn't just my take. It resonates across the political spectrum. The American people want democratic access to capital, retail investor participation. You can't just exclude retail investors from markets and claim it's for their own good. Our markets need to function and flourish, and I yield back.
Now, if Gary Gensler stays in office, we could assume we're going to have very strict regulation when it comes to crypto. If he's replaced by someone else, the hope is we get someone who's more crypto friendly. But whether it's Gary Gensler or someone else, we're going to have crypto regulation. The only question is how strict. Of course, if it's very strict, this could be a problem. So what happens to crypto? Well, Bitcoin, we know, is so big and decentralized that it will continue. It just won't be happening in the United States. But what about Ethereum? Some people have been saying that Ethereum is centralized, therefore it's easy to shut down. And this narrative was really pushed after the merge, when Ethereum went from proof of work to proof of stake, because after the merge, OFAC compliant blocks were above 70%, or said in another way, censored blocks. So at first glance, it appeared that Ethereum was a censored blockchain, was a centralized blockchain. But at that very same time, Ethereum transactions still went through. So although there were blocks that were censoring, there were other blocks that weren't, that still picked up the transactions and processed them. So again, at first glance, it appeared centralized. But because Ethereum is so large, there was still someone there to make sure it works. That is the whole point of becoming a big decentralized blockchain. Even if you have bad actors, even if you have someone who is not playing by the rules, the network is so large that it will continue to work as intended. And that's what happened with Ethereum. Now, the same can be said for a lot of projects on top of Ethereum. The same also can be said for a lot of blockchains. A lot of blockchains and a lot of these new projects are basically Web 2 companies in crypto clothing. They have just a few people running them. They have a physical address. They have a mailing address. They have someone you can bring into court. So if regulation is strict, these projects could easily be shut down and they could easily be brought to court and labeled as securities. But when it comes to Bitcoin and Ethereum, these networks are so large that they will continue. Even if someone like Vitalik Buterin was arrested today or even passed away, Ethereum would continue.